getting everything in place now, guys. We should be starting here shortly. And I should get the notification here shortly. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right. So, first and foremost, I want to thank everyone for being on this evening's live. First off, of course, want to thank our panelists for taking out the time to actually be a part of this event. For those who don't know, we'll most definitely go into introductions and things of that sort. But to take away your time to pour into others, to give information when you didn't have to, and we greatly appreciate you guys for actually taking out the time to do so and pour into everybody, try to get some questions answered and things of that sort. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to go around and then we're going to go into some quick introductions, and then we'll go ahead and kind of go into the pace of everything. So at the top of my screen, I do have Ken. So of course, Ken, tell everyone that's able to watch us this evening how you met me and how you got into buying your first rental property.
Sorry about that.
All
So
good.
I had met Calvin through a mutual friend by the name of Evie. I was working on some of my finances, and we had mentioned investments. And I was told that Calvin would be a good person to get me started going in that direction. Kind of had some ideas of what I wanted to do, but I was able to clear things up a lot more after speaking with Calvin and trying to tell him, what direction I was going in.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So a little bit of background. So now what do you, if you don't mind, what do you do for work? Are you just an average regular person, right?
So pretty much, I'm a pipe fitter, union pipe fitter, not 597. I had just finished with my apprenticeship, and I was kind of reading. What really kicked it off was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. I had
Wow.
kind of knew about landlording. There wasn't a lot um, that I knew about it. I just kind of knew the basics of it. But reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and seeing how real estate played a big role for him, and kind of how it took to him, really kind of put the idea in my head. So I kind of did a lot of information gathering and studying and getting pretty much the basics on real estate and what it would be expected of me. And then at that point, I knew the next step was actually purchasing an investment building. So that's what Calvin had came in. Initially, I didn't really know what I was looking for. Calvin had a good idea, kind of what I wanted. So we were able to carve out, that I wanted a 2-flat, kind of find out the area. I really pushed to be out west, but I saw that there was a lot of inventory out south. So it kind of came to, do you want to, find your dream house, or do you want to get an investment property? And you got to really ask yourself and look at it, and in kind of that light.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, listen, man, we most definitely appreciate you sharing how you got into it and how the idea came about. So next will be Mr. Lance Hall. So Lance, how did you meet me, and then what made you want to go into rental property ownership?
Oh, absolutely. So I got a chance to meet Calvin through his sister, actually. Jasmine went to Western Illinois University and part of the one of the greatest fraternities alive, Alpha Phi Alpha. And once I graduated, she introduced me to her brother. She said, "Lance, I know you just finished grad school. I think he would be a great person for you to meet and kind of explore your creativity and all that you want to do in life." And I said, "Oh, okay, cool. I'll meet this guy." At the time, he was working for a different firm, and one of the things I remember most distinctively about meeting with Calvin was I said, "Man, with what we're doing here, I feel like I need more time. In order for me to be successful, I can't do it part time. Like I have to put my all, like my energy into being successful in this arena." And so I decided to go, elsewhere with kind of diving into IT. So in today's world, I'm kind of a serial entrepreneur, which means that, I have an IT company called Hall Group Solutions. I have a transportation company called Access Granite Chicago. And then also too, the real estate side that started with flipping property and then end up merging and migrating over to renting. So that's when I got a chance to meet Calvin a little bit more in detail, working with him with the credit aspect of things and just kind of allowing that relationship to blossom, and seeing how meeting other serial entrepreneurs was such a great was really a great asset to growing. and got a chance to deep dive with Calvin. And since then, working with him on that side has just been a true blessing, if you will.
There you go. There you go. Well, listen, man, greatly appreciate, of course, my sister for making that introduction. And man, it's crazy how time has flown. I think that was what, 2008 or 9? I can't remember how, yeah, something like that.
About 2009, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Didn't
11
know you
years later.
right. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. There we go. All right. And then Jeff, so tell us a little bit about yourself, and then how you went into, of course, how we met, and then how you went into property ownership.
So we met through my girlfriend, who went to high school with you, Tiffany Jones. So what was going on? I had good credit, but I didn't know how to do nothing with it. So she was telling me, she's like, "Oh, I have a friend named Calvin. He's good with letting you know the next step with credit and everything." So I hooked up with Calvin. She hooked us up, and he helped me do a couple of things. But he told me, "Hey, you like what you want to do next?" And I was like, "Well, I was looking into me personally. I wanted like a barbershop, but he was telling me, income properties are what's up right now. You can make a lot of money off that." And he said, "You're already in position, so what are you waiting for?" So next thing you know, I started working with him, and he really like pretty much step by step helped me do everything because I knew nothing about it. All I knew was, I had okay credit, but I didn't know what to do with it. So he pretty much step by step told me where to look. And like Kenneth, I wanted out west. I'm from out west. I wanted to stay there. I'm like, let me stay where I know my people at. But he went with me to every location. And out west, it was good, but it needed work. And he said, "Why not? Let's try out south." And then south had better. Everything was already together. It was ready to, roll. So went out south. I made it happen.
Awesome. Awesome. I remember that too, man. But we most definitely tried it, just like, with Ken. And that's actually what I want to go into. So we'll go ahead and swing it back to Ken first. How was that buying process? I know a lot of people, some people are looking to go into the west side, some people are looking to go into the south side. I've even got a request from somebody today, and they're looking, in the north side. So what was that experience like for you? How, what did we go through? How many, not to, it don't have to be an exact number, how many properties we saw, did we go into contract inspections? How was that process for you?
So it kind of was a humbling process because like by the time I had met you, I had already like, when you get a hold of something, you kind of dig into it and really, get involved in it. So I had read a lot. I was on Bigger Pockets webcast. I was reading as much as I could. So when I stepped into it, I was still nervous because I saw that it was a lot that I didn't know, and there was multi levels of things going on. Like, you were able to, make sure I got this sign and that sign, and the setup itself was easy. It was just going through the process. So we went through it a couple of times. So I was able to see it the first time, and I think we got up to the point. I think it was in I want to say Maywood, and it didn't fall through. I want to say they didn't want to get the roof fixed. The lady was, it got all the way to the end, and she did not want to get the roof fixed. And I had already got the inspections, and I did have to pay for the inspections up there. So it is some hits that I did take, but I had also learned at the same time. So I'm like, okay. So the next time I went through, we were able to go through faster. And eventually we did stumble upon, the place I'm at now. It was like towards the middle of February. I remember wanting to get it done before February. And I think we got to February 28th, and there was a lot of back and forth between the lawyers and just a lot of going back and forth. But Calvin was able to shake the tree, and like really he just brought everybody attention. It's like, look, this is what we got done, this is what we need to get to do, like who are we waiting on? And he legit pushed it like the rest of the way there. So we got it done on the 28th. So it was a good process. It was scary, but it was something that you need to do and take the steps in just so you can see going along, this is how it needs to be done. These are the people you need to talk to.
Absolutely. You touched on a lot too, man, because buying the property, I know we see a lot of stuff on HGTV, things of that sort, and it always looks, is easy, right? They see a few properties, they make a decision, Man, it ain't like that, you know. So, you
They
know,
definitely setting you up. It's definitely a lot more in detail to that. Yeah.
and it's an emotional roller coaster, and you have so many people involved that literally one person can throw off the entire transaction or slow things down, honestly. And it had gotten to a point where, and for those who've done business with me in the real estate realm, there are probably people who are watching this now, landlords or not, or single family buyers or not, or even the women that was on the last panel watching this. And it's crazy because it was a people just start pointing fingers on who was waiting on stuff, and I just had to just send this email like, listen, here's where we are. He said this about your mama, but listen, it's okay, you know. So, but either way, of course, we was able to get that deal, to the finish line, for sure. That's for sure. So, and then Lance, now we know the process was a little bit different for you. So if you can
Yeah.
kind of dive into how you went into becoming a landlord.
Oh, absolutely. So mine was slightly different where I actually wanted to get in just to flip property. Begin again, I watched the HGTV and said, you know what, this looks really cool. And I would love to do just that. One of the things I've learned in that process is that people would come to me and say, Lance, I'm really fearful about the process, right? Whether we're talking about flipping properties or being a landlord, and I wanted to tell people first and foremost that, it's okay to have that level of fear, right? It's what you decide to do with that fear. That's what's going to either make you successful or, the opposite of successful and not be successful. So I purchased my first property, and the goal was to flip the property in 60 days. Here's the list of things had to get fixed. Got the general contractor. And the most important piece was when I went through the process, I wanted to make sure that all the ducks were in a row. So as we mentioned earlier, I have, Jessica Johnson, my girlfriend, who was with me every step of the way, just to make sure that we had everything in place. That's the second part of it, right? So um, the idea of purchasing is great, but you want to make sure that if that level of fear is there, you have somebody that's to the right or to the left of you that can walk you through that process. That in which we did. Now, where we came into the hiccup at was when it was time to actually sell. We couldn't sell for a number of reasons. The inspections would fail. All the things that you learn either on the front end or the back end. And we got to the point where we were actually paying on a monthly basis. And this amount was a high end amount on a monthly perspective. So we had a decision to make. During the time the market was not so good, so the property value was actually going down. So all the comps weren't there, and we had to make a decision. We could either sell the property for lower than the purchase price, we could hold the property, or we could rent it. And that's when we reached out to Calvin and said, "Hey, man, listen, what do we do? What's our best option?" And I'm telling you, the moment that we put that we were renting the property up, it went just like that. And when I tell you it took the financial stress away from us completely. And I know we'll deep dive into that, but yeah, that's how actually end up transitioning from flipping property to actually being a landlord.
Absolutely. And you know what is that everything worked out perfectly. We had we put photos up instantly. Like people were fighting to have everything right. And that's just through the research. We looked up what was the right price to list it at for the rent. And I mean it worked out perfectly. And you guys actually got some pretty good tenants. Haven't heard a peep from them. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. So awesome, awesome. And then Ken, so now how was that buying process for you? I know we kind of started looking at both sides, west side, south sides, and what made you end up making your decision?
As far as the buying process,
Oh, sorry, not Ken, Jeff, my bad. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, my bad.
No, my bad. I supposed to definitely say, I was like, wait a minute, why is Ken talking? My bad. Go ahead. So yeah, did you get the question?
No.
Okay, cool. Yes, it's all good. So no, I was saying now when we started, we was looking out west, and it was also open to out south. And how was that buying process for you? And then what made you make your final decision on the property when
You
we
forced
going
me out
forward?
south. No, just
Yeah.
right now.
Right.
But well, like we looked at a lot. 'Cause, it was a couple months went back because we was looking everywhere, and then so the West, like I said, the West, it was some good spots, but they needed a lot of work, and I was in the middle. Like, so do I want to stay out here and get here, but I got to put work in, then find tenants? Do I want to go through that whole process, or would I rather just go south? And he showed me a lot of good ones out south. And then I was like, I'm not too familiar with the area, so I didn't want to, but I was like, it was the best opportunity. And it was, like I said, it was already built. Everything out here is more, it was together. So once we started the process, it went fast. Like once we figured out what we wanted to do, everything went fast. The inspection, the appraisal, everything went fast. And like it was pretty easy actually. Like once we decided what we want to do, it was easy. It was real easy.
Yep. Yep. And what's crazy is that like right now, the market is insane. You guys thought it was crazy when, and Lance can attest to this because we're, man, everything's going crazy right now. Everybody, the inventory, to me, the inventory is not necessarily low. It's just everybody just wants to kind of like the same properties in a sense. And so you guys thought the market was crazy when you guys were looking for properties. The market has gone up. So I mean, even where you guys are right now, the average price is going up probably 15 to 25,000. So and I mean, even Lance is seeing now an increase. So already it's a good thing because that's how it's supposed to be, especially on the west side and south side, because the north side always sees those types of trends. Okay, so next question that we want to get into: was it hard to find a tenant? So this time we'll actually, we'll go ahead and start with Ken again. So was that hard to find a tenant? Because I know you had someone that you knew kind of help you, walk you through that process too.
So with the tenant, I kind of got in a lucky break. I had did some networking. So I was able to meet with some guys that were developing an app. After that, hearing what they had did, I tried to look into the app, and the app actually walks you through kind of the process, so it finds the tenants for you. So I was able to locate them, and I was able to work with a leasing agent. So she was able to help me kind of find out what I was looking for, and most of the planning and meeting with the tenants was coming from her. So I was able to kind of cut out and fast track that process.
Yeah. Cool. No, perfect, perfect. And that's the thing is that when we go from paying rent or even just regular home ownership, but most of the time you guys are brand new landlords. So you got to go from instant not having the knowledge, and I send my landlord kit to everybody on here, but it still doesn't, it doesn't give you, it give you like a couple of the tools, but it's really you have to change. And I'm talking like I went from calling Ken and say, hey, you need help find the tenant. He's like, oh man, I already started the process. It forces us to become that person now because man, we got mortgages on the way, So and not only that, we want to get that rental income, man,
It
So
definitely you
and
feel
that's
the
what's so
heat.
great about it.
Yeah, you definitely feel the heat when you win it because you're like, all right, this real deal. We're playing ball for real. This ain't Monopoly. This real
Man,
money.
right. Absolutely. 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 All right. And then, so Lance, how was that process for you? Just finding a tenant?
Honestly, I actually got a chance to work with you with locating the tenants, in which, like we mentioned, we had a list of possible tenants,
Yeah.
and we kind of when you're going through a process, you have to know who the subject matter experts are, and knowing that ultimately you make the final decision. But working with you, you're able to give us a top three and say, hey, here's the profiles, here's my recommendation, but ultimately you have to make the decision. And so one of the things I love about being a tenant is that is the power of a choice and decisions. And so we understand that there are times in people's lives where, the credit may not just be the best. You may fall on hard times financially, which everything has a trickle down effect in life. And so one of the things Jessica and I are really proud about is not necessarily that, oh, we have a tenant in there. It's the type of tenant that we were able to
Yeah.
put into the property and know that, we provided a choice. We made a choice that allowed for a family to now go to one of the best high schools, their family to be able to have that home where they can build their credit over time and say, hey, we would like to purchase the property. And so it's that type of energy that we like to kind of put out into the universe. And it starts with making a choice. So, again, we work with you to narrow down that top 3 list. And, ultimately we made what turned out to be one of the best choices.
Man, crazy. And and I felt that too when I met them because they showed up like it was a job interview. And because the fact, because that plays a major role. So if the viewers, if you guys are watching this and you say, you know what, I got goals to probably buy property later down the line, whatever the case may be, it may not be necessarily right now, but I'm going to be renting right now. It matters how you show up. It matters what time you show up. It matters, how your kids act. It matters how, the person that you're bringing is acting, whether it's your mom, whether it's your boyfriend, whether y'all got a situationship, whatever that is. It plays a role because as landlords, they're looking not at necessarily reasons to decline you, but they're trying to, because there's no crystal ball to tell how a person is going to be. And we all know, like when a person does a job interview, oh yeah, I'm gonna work hard. I'm gonna do X, Y, Z. Then they get the job and then they post it on Facebook. Man, I can't wait till I get off. So and as landlords, we're trying to draw a future picture of like, man, do I want to deal with what this potentially could be? So if you guys are watching this, I'm telling you, it matters. It matters because we have to look at that because sometimes, and like Lance said, in a situation where we didn't necessarily go by the credit. We went by, they did a lot of basic things professionally. And man, we got lucky, so, but we weeded out and it came down to even a slight tough decision, but we was like, no, they're solid. They care. And it's been a good ride, for you since then. So awesome. All right. And then Jeff, now, how was that process finding a tenant for you?
I know y'all gonna be tired of me saying this, but it was really easy. Like it was like so. I had Calvin do everything, but so when once I got the property and when I was ready for somebody like to get a tenant, because like you said, the mortgage was coming, and I was like, man, I can't pay this more. We gotta get somebody in here. Calvin, he came up with the idea. He said, let's put the property on what it was, Zuli at the time. I think it was
It's Trulia, Zillow. Yep.
Zillow. Yeah, we just put it on a couple, and within like 3 days, we got a hit back for somebody called, and it was Calvin. I also knew him, so
Yeah.
Olympia and them. So once I met them, they came. I met them, and I was like, I know I wanted to wait, and I wanted to see other, but they was great for me, and I was like, you know what, give them a chance, and they gave me problems. So the first one was the best one.
There you go. There you go. And and let me tell you something too. That's always a tough call. I get that every now and then. People most definitely they'll send me direct messages and they'll say, "Hey, do you have any rentals, things of that sort?" And it's not that I don't try to build a relationship necessarily, because I may know some landlords, but then I don't want people to feel obligated if I know some people or whatever the case may be. But for this particular client, I most definitely knew her well, and and it was very good to how that worked out. It was more so the timing because of the situation. She was like, hey, I'm looking for another place. She wasn't necessarily pressed for time, and it worked out perfectly. And I said, oh, well, this is not even real. I mean, he just got this property. And she said, well, how does it look? And then as soon as she saw it, it was a done deal, so that worked out.
Amen.
That worked out perfectly, for everybody. So now next question I want to go into. Let's see here. I got to switch some screens. Okay, so now, yeah, I didn't think that, because I know, for one, I know Lance is not Section 8, and then Jeff is not, and then so Ken, do you have Section 8 or not at the moment? Oh, sorry.
So no, I don't have Section 8.
Okay, got you. Okay, and then so what do you guys? Well, so we really haven't had a chance to actually experience that. So it's not like. And then I know for Lance and Jeff, it just came a certain way. But then Ken, did you have anyone apply that was Section 8 that you even interviewed, or it just didn't come in that time frame?
No, so my tenants, I never got one that actually was Section 8, so I never got that experience.
Yeah.
Most of mine that came in and looked at it were non-Section 8 residents.
Okay, and then of course, for those who are watching, so we're just going to get just a quick opinion on it. And of course, legally we can't decline or accept, just say only Section 8 or no Section 8, that kind of deal. What are some pros and cons you guys think? Are you guys open to Section 8 in the future, maybe with another property or something like that, or you guys like not at the moment? I'll kind of see how that goes. So we'll go ahead and swing it backwards. So we're going to start with Jeff. And so let's say, for example, your current tenant, she just says, you know what, all right, let's go ahead and wrap the lease up, whatever the case may be, leaving on good terms and all that. And would you be open to Section 8 by chance?
I would. Especially my cousin. She owns her house,
Yeah.
but before she owned her house, she was telling me about when she was Section 8. She
Mm.
was saying like, what I'm charging for rent. She was saying, oh, you could have charged more. But even though when we talked about it, I was like, no, I felt like it was fair. But she was saying you could have charged more. She like, if you did Section 8, this is how much they'd be paying. So it comes with more money. That's for sure. But at the same time, I also know, me and you talked about it. We also know that Section 8 could be tricky sometimes too.
Yeah.
So, but I would. I think I definitely would accept it though.
Yeah, because there are some landlords too who only do Section 8. I don't know if you know, some people who watched that. It was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. The Breakfast Club interviewed a guy who owned a lot of properties, and he said he only goes, Section 8. Obviously, guaranteed income, things of that sort.
Right.
Sometimes people feel that, hey, will they take care of the property and things of that sort. I mean, it's a toss up. That's for sure. I haven't had that opportunity. It just kind of just fell a little bit different in my lap. But and then so we'll go ahead and swing over to Lance. Would you be open to that in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would. The biggest thing that I would tell anybody that I would do, even myself, is the proper due diligence. So you want to be able, before accepting, either whether we're talking about just regular tenants or even Section 8, you want to make sure you do your due diligence. That means, your online research. What are the pros? What are the cons of Section 8? And ask yourself, internally, is this something that I'm willing to endure and take on, right? Because sometimes that can be a totally different process than just being a tenant, right? It's like a bolt on where you have to make sure that your property is in compliance. You have to make sure that, is there a different scanning or review process, what that consists of, and kind of go from there and make that decision. Me personally, I definitely would, but I would definitely do my due diligence in looking at the area, looking at the property itself, and then do I meet the requirements, and kind of go from there.
Absolutely. And you hit it right on the head. Just because rent's going to be paid on time doesn't mean you still shouldn't do, your own due diligence, making sure things match up. If you go, I mean, I got a lot of ratchet people on my timeline that has nothing to do with Section 8. But what I mean by that is they're making fake documents right now. People got fake check stubs, fake bank statements.
Yeah,
Whether people are working or whether they're Section 8, people got these documents out here, man, and they
yeah,
finessing easily. So you most definitely have to do research, and that's
yeah,
for any tenant. And
yeah,
again, but don't let that be overshadowed by the fact that rent will be paid on time. The same
right,
goes for, like I mentioned, if a person's not in Section 8 and they quote unquote make a certain amount of money, you got to make sure you double checking certain things. Don't
yeah,
just go by the income, don't just go by the credit score. So for those, and one of the biggest tips I think that I've given is that I've always taught, anyone that's done business with me or asked me for my advice, I've always gone after people with good income and not the best credit, because credit can obviously change. But let's be honest, if a person has great credit, they're more than likely not going to be a tenant for long, right? There's always that, man. Oh, here we go. So they didn't got their life together. So that whole deal. And but then you can't judge people by necessarily their credit, because things happen. Just like
yeah,
what Lance had mentioned, with his particular tenant, so I think I forgot what the situation was, but these were professional people, and the
yeah,
timing just worked out to where it's like, hey,
yeah,
we got to rent,
yeah,
but it's being paid on time. And at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. You're not judging people based
right.
on that, but it's a tough call, because now you're in employer mode, and a lot of people have never been in that role before, where they're giving someone an opportunity to be in their household. I mean, like, you got to make sure that it's going to make sense. So,
And
yeah.
also too, on the other side, you got to make sure that you're in compliance, right?
Yeah.
So you got to, because if you're not in compliance, then you won't get paid, and if you don't get paid, now you're not happy, and if you're not happy, the property doesn't exist in my mind because I can't pay
Man.
for it. So you got to make sure that you're doing your due diligence on the potential tenants, and then also the process as well, because that can prolong things, and things being payment being one of them. You don't want that to be, the reason.
Awesome. 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 Now let's go into one of the biggest things I think that people kind of get afraid about, and that's building maintenance. Now, you guys have, and just quick sidebar, I have some clients that are waiting to be on the next, and I'm just thankful, honestly. They want to be on the next panel. I even know one young lady reached out to me. She was like, "Hey, I just bought a property. What about me?" And I was like, "Well, I gotta make sure get a little bit of experience, because that way we start talking about some stuff. People want to hear not just the good, they want to hear the stuff that that wasn't the best." And she most definitely has a great story to tell. I can't wait to do that one. I'll say that one for the beginning of the year. We got a lot more women, and man, women are most definitely stepping up to the plate. That's why we're doing this, and it's not a battle. It's more of a, hey, God, let's do it. If we could do it, so can you guys as well. But let's go ahead and jump into building maintenance. So I'll go ahead and start with you, Lance. What's some building maintenance you had to deal with kicking off the being a landlord so far?
Oh, absolutely. And I wanted to mention too, when it's a lot of times we talk about the traditional sense of wanting to be a landlord. And one of the biggest things that comes up is, if something goes wrong, I don't even know why I'll even get the funds to be able to pay for it. What if the tenant messes it up? What if they say that it was just a natural cause, and we know opposite, and so that people choose not to go down that path. And I was actually one of those people, to believe it or not. And so one of the things I've learned is that with getting we actually have American Home Shield, and American Home Shield is a company that does home warranty on heating, cooling, things like your refrigerator, technology, you name it, they cover it. And so since we end up getting American Home Shield, and we pay a nice minimum, nice premium, if there's an issue within the home in any one of those categories of like only $125 for a rep to come out and fix the issue. Now, what they'll do is they'll look at it, they'll try to repair it first. If they can't repair it, then they'll replace the unit altogether with a newer model, right? So we actually end up using that 3 times at our tenant's location for their heat. The heat had went out, their AC, one of the AC units that went out. And then also too, we used it for their oven as well. And so
Mm.
this would have normally cost us thousands of dollars. Instead, we actually end up paying, honestly, a total of, I think it was under $500 for all 3 combined.
Wow.
So, again, we use American Home Shield. There's others out there as well that you can utilize. But for us, that took a lot of the stress off of, to be a landlord or not. And so these are the key things that you want to be able to know. Do your research, again, your due diligence, to figure out which program, which company is best for you, and definitely go for it. But that definitely saved us a lot of time, headache, and money as well.
Yeah, actually, that was a great tip that you gave. Buying a home warranty. I think that a lot of people, they only think about the home warranty side when they actually purchase the property. But then on the back end, and especially as men, we know we're always the guys like, oh yeah, I can fix it, pretty handy. And like especially Lance, he said, look, if there's something he can't figure out, he gonna YouTube it for sure. But he said, listen, I'm gonna let these professionals take care of this stuff. So that most definitely makes a lot of sense there for sure. So and then Jeff, what's some maintenance that you have you had to do any maintenance so far?
I have like two, maybe 3 things. One, like month or 2 in, I don't know what happened, but the whole refrigerator just stopped working. It burnt out. So yeah, that
Yeah,
happened. And I had a couple of their electric sockets.
yeah.
And then I forgot his name, but I know you hooked me up with the guy, Mr. Brown or something. He's
Oh
one
yeah,
of those one
everybody.
of those do it all guys, man.
Yeah,
Look, everybody needs one of those. Everybody needs a do it all guy. So man,
yeah,
Calvin hooked me up with him. I called him. He came out the next day. So we couldn't help the refrigerator. I just had to get another refrigerator. We couldn't help that. But the electric
yeah.
sockets, I think it was one thing with the shower thing. He fixed that. So get you somebody reliable, get you a do it all guy, you'll be good though.
Man,
And the insurance, though. The insurance, yeah, that's definitely gonna help. But
absolutely,
you
absolutely.
got
For
the guys,
those
man.
uh, Yeah, man. Listen, Mr. Brown. Listen, he's become a legend now. So I think everybody I know in that's done business with me, I've most definitely given them his number, and very very reliable. And man, it's almost like the word handyman is almost beneath him because he actually had a contract. No, I mean he's been doing a lot of different things, and he knows so many different things. And it's not just a man with a screwdriver. And I mean, I'm talking like we're talking camera installation. We're talking it. You'd be surprised what Mr. Brown, can most definitely do. So I try my best to let everybody know, hey, listen, this is a reliable person. If you need someone to do a small task or something that could be major, it's good to have somebody like that, and where you don't necessarily have to go through Sears or whatever the case may be. He most definitely knows how to work around it. So, and then Ken, what are some maintenance things you've had to deal with you being a landlord so far?
Okay. I just wanted to piggyback too. I didn't get to mention on that Section 8, but one of the things that I did want to kind of piggyback on what Lance was saying as far as doing due diligence, it's definitely something that you do want to look into. That was kind of my biggest thing when talking with the leasing agent, just kind of making through you comb through with the person. And I kind of look at it as being a contract. I'm trusting that this person is going to take care. So I don't really care about the Section 8. Are you going to be able to financially adult yourself to take care of your rent and everything else that's going in your life? If you can do that, we can sign this contract. So I just wanted to piggyback on that. But as far as maintenance, that is something that is kind of I'm inclined to. I'm a pipe fitter, so a lot of the stuff with maintenance I kind of see on a commercial scale. So with residential, there was some things that I wanted to add when I moved in. I know I had told the tenant that we had laundry. Some of the units weren't hooked up, so I kind of had the laundry room built for them, just so it was like an actual unit and separate from the basement. So I was able to do that, and I know I could just see the happiness, and I kind of wrote it up. And this is where you got to kind of transition to a business person. I knew that she was getting a new laundry thing, and she had waited, so I gave her. I got the idea from Calvin too, which is a really good guy to like get some ideas. So I made a little basket with like just stuff for like to do laundry in, and I didn't get none of the cheap laundry. I got the good stuff, so they know like, hey, I appreciate. And she had been paying on time, so that was just something like I could, help with her because I know the maintenance had needed there, and she moved in and didn't say anything, and she mentioned it once or twice. So just her being that way, you kind of saw that. All right, this person is, they're bearing with. So that's definitely one of the maintenance. Usually everything else that I run into, I kind of do take care of myself. If it is outside of the spec, like the app I had mentioned earlier, there are some outlets on there. And what Lance said, that's probably a really good idea as far as with the warranty. I'm actually gonna look into that myself, man. So
Yes. Look at that. Now wait. Now we got to we got to get some to resell that before we start pushing that real quick now.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Hey, let me tell you, but let me be honest. If I had the Kenneth swag is what I would call it, to be able to do a lot of the work, even just from him explaining that. In my mind, I
yeah.
was like, yo, that sounds ideally great. But the way that my life is set up and the way
Right.
that my skill set is set up, okay, I speak for 85% of the people who may potentially want to become a landlord and say my skill set is just not there, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to admit that, okay? So I'll probably give you a call, Ken, if I want to be able to fix something, absolutely. But if we can't do that, and I can't get off YouTube, I'm calling American Home Chef
hey,
for sure.
There you go. There you go. And nothing too, that Ken mentioned that was very key, of course, doing the due diligence and such, man, being a landlord, as we're making these decisions, you most definitely got to make sure that you're, open to, if you could do it yourself, most definitely, but at the same time, just like it's events like this where we're able to share certain things. And let me tell you something. It is one of the biggest tips that Ken just touched on. It's hard to find a good tenant. And so when you finally get one, it's these little things that just makes them feel appreciated as they should. So, and my wife and I, we've been landlords since 2013. And since that time, we would do things like when they would renew the lease, take $100 off the rent. Every Christmas, we would take, give them a discount on the rent. You just do little small things that you don't have to do. It's not expected, but that January 1st rent or that December 1st rent, consider, just shoot them a text and say, hey, listen, for this month it's $100 off. if you can afford to do that, obviously we got reserves and bills and stuff like that. Or like Ken mentioned, buying laundry, items or something that they can use, with that. The detergent costs you $30. You'd be surprised, but that may be the thing that keeps them from blasting the music, past 1 a.m. or something like that. So I'm telling you, it's easy to let people know. Just do it early, okay? Early and often. All right. So
Well, one of
next
the things
question.
quickly I
Yeah,
wanted
go
to
ahead.
mention too is that even with, I keep saying American Home, I want to tell you I love them, but to that point, they have the technology piece as well that I didn't even know, right? Where even if a TV goes out, a laptop goes bad, um, any level of technology that you have, they will be able to repair it and or replace it. So I can't tell you and when I learned about that information, I began to do a inventory of how many TVs did I replace? What technology went bad? Did I end up my Mac prime example that cost well over 2,000 something plus dollars, where if I would have
Mm,
had that, even if I didn't use it for the entire year, just them replacing this computer itself would have been well worth it. So it kind of lends itself to what you're saying, Calvin, about like the aspect of the holidays, or hey, just a quick FYI, if anything goes wrong technology wise, let us know. We'll see what we can do. When all along, in your back pocket, you have that warranty that you can utilize. So it's just things like that that you want to think about, you know, where you say, how would I feel as a tenant if somebody was able to do something like that? Because not every tenant does it. Not every, landlord does it by far. So
yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely, man. Absolutely. So listen, you guys are hearing it from them. It's not just me. Different things. Looks like Ken is looking it up right now. But awesome, awesome. So now that you guys have been landlords, right? This is property one. But sometimes people get turned off by it. They say, ah, man, that burnt me out. I'm done. Um, how do you guys feel about, purchasing more properties, getting more tenants? So we're going to swing it over to Jeff for this one. Do you see yourself buying more properties? Do you see yourself getting more tenants in the future?
You saw how eager I was to answer that?
Yeah,
Man,
absolutely.
look, I was just telling somebody, I was like, really being a landlord, especially during all this COVID, really helped because when COVID first hit, I was working at the airport and they laid us off.
Mm,
So me not me, still being able to collect the rent and still being able to, just to help pay my mortgage and stuff, that really helped me. So yes, I am looking to buy another one. I'm ready. I just told you, I just called you a couple weeks ago. Told you I'm ready to start the process soon, real soon.
awesome. Awesome. And what's crazy, guys, is that now that we have that experience, it just makes that process just a little bit, easier for sure. And then Ken, now how do you feel about so far? Do you see yourself going into getting more properties, obviously reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, and of course getting more tenants down the line?
Definitely. I got a number in my head, 11 doors I'm trying to get to.
Wow.
So this is something that I had this is something I want to pass on to the kids, if they want to get into it, some of this generational wealth that I can hand over to them. So I definitely got a project in mind as far as hitting my number.
Awesome. Awesome. And you know what? That's the thing, man. Ken mentioned something. I mean, I don't know if people have been taking notes, but key points that we talked about. Number one, doing due diligence on people, whether it's Section 8 or not Section 8, just making sure you do, just checking the backgrounds out. Lance talked about getting a home warranty, and then Ken talked about, obviously, if you can do it yourself, go ahead and do it yourself. But now, and then you mentioned earlier, Bigger Pockets. That is a major channel, on YouTube. They got an app, and they got so many different just tools. And they have, man, I forgot the name of that book, but they got some pretty solid books. I was reading one, and it was talking about rental.
Burr.
Say what was it? Say that again.
I think it's called Burr.
Oh
Buy,
yeah,
rent, remodel.
the
Yeah,
Burr method, right?
yeah.
Phenomenal method. I have a friend of mine who did that, where he bought, and of course the B stands for buy. The first R stands for renovate. Then rent out. Then refinance. Then repeat. And a lot of people have been doing that. And there's another one. It talks about how to retire just off having rental properties. I have a friend of mine who I sold cars to, and she was looking for an apartment. And at the time, I didn't have my real estate license. And I referred her to my old landlords. And I realized, I was like, man, I said, it's amazing how such and such is always available. And then I called her. I said, hey, I appreciate you helping out my friend, this. And she was like, well, this is all that I do. And she has about 3 buildings, and they put a large down payment down. And I think the buildings are either paid off or the mortgages are pretty low, but they own 4 unit buildings. And and you're talking, I think she's doing about maybe $60,000 a year. If you equate that, to per hour or whatever the case may be, and you're just managing buildings, I mean, it's your own building. I mean, it's people are making a full-time income doing this. So granted, it's something we do on the side, our rental income, like Ken mentioned, passing it down to our children. That's going to be, major for sure. And then of course, Lance, being a landlord for the time that you've been a landlord, do you see yourself buying more properties, getting more tenants down the line?
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the big trigger words that Ken mentioned was purpose, right? He said, I want to be able to do this for my kids and my kids' kids. So one of the things I try to tell people when they ask, should I become a landlord, is you have to know your purpose. And you got to make sure that they don't touch, right? You know how you got those kids who just don't like for their mac and cheese to touch their chicken, or they don't want their stuff to touch. I think that's so important in this aspect, because if your purpose is to bring in more income for you and your family, your immediate family, then your strategy and plan is totally different. You're faced with real numbers on what you're going to make per month, and you can kind of calculate and figure out, what do I need to make in order for my family to live comfortable, right? So that may be on a more accelerated program. But if you say, what, I want this property for my kids and my kids' kids, then your plan is a little bit more solidified, and less of a rush, and because your end goal, right? So when I was speaking with Jessica, my mindset was, I want to make the most money the quickest. And she was like, well, she said, what about the kids and the kids? I said, yeah, that will come, but
Yeah,
right,
later
if,
down the
if I
line.
do this will be in place. But one of the things that we talked about was the plan is different. If you talk about this being for my kids and my kids' kids, then you can plan it accordingly. If you got 3 kids, you say, I want to leave each one with a building that I know that's paid off and that can generate X amount of dollars per month. Then you set them up, accordingly, and the plan makes sense. But what plan and direction you're going in. So the plan is so important. I have to stress that, like, because I get some people who want to say it's for the kids and kids, but they got the accelerated plan. And then people got the accelerated plan like me, but it's really for their kids and their kids. So, figure out that plan, really work that plan, and just make sure that, you keep that in mind, whether it's a vision board or something that's constantly telling you this is what it's for. So I wanted to definitely say that nugget there. So I definitely appreciate that trigger work, Ken. I can call you Ken, right? Because we've been on
Yeah,
this call for like over 20
we
minutes. So
family
after
now.
Yeah,
we
we
family
fam
now,
now.
man.
Yeah, yeah. You hooked me
No,
up
but I
with the
definitely
warranty idea. I'm definitely gonna look into that.
but
There
no,
you guys
Cal, I,
go. There
I
you guys
definitely want
go.
to be able to have I want to be able to do both tracks, right? I'm that guy. I want to be able to do the fast track to be able to bring in some additional revenue. Really big on helping people out where they just need that one opportunity to prove themselves. And so, I want to be able to do that with also leaving, properties behind too, and understanding the slower track for the kids and the kids.
Absolutely, man. And that's the thing, and I'm with you on that one too, Lance. I mean, we're working for it now. We most definitely want to enjoy it now. And as we start building that portfolio, man, our kids are going to walk into a great situation, just like other kids whose parents may have had a 400-year head start, so walk into a good situation, so, and that's all we're doing, at the end of the day, that's exactly what we're doing. So, did want
We
to
can
open
talk
this
about
up
it.
for, yeah,
You
say
opened it
what?
up, Calvin. You didn't open it up now.
All right.
I'm about to pull up the flyer. I'm about to
Right,
pull up
right.
the flyer because it's saying, it's
Hey, when he
important,
said it, I
guys.
was thinking the same thing. I was like, oh,
Yes,
he opened the door now.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Listen,
yes.
man. And you know what? And I'm gonna be honest. Because see, my wife and I, we've built 850 Club. Park Place was more of a something that we just did on the side, to be totally honest. And now it's blossomed into like something bigger, and never trying to toot our own horns or talk necessarily about the company. It's, man, it's about, I did it to do more events like this where people can actually talk to real people, because a lot of times, we watch stuff on TV, and there's nothing wrong with that. HGTV obviously, make things, they take out all the real stuff out of it, but it's events like this where we can learn from everyday regular people. And I saw the comments when people were sharing it. I saw the response from people, and it's like, man, people, we are trailblazers. We are literally leading by example. You guys are motivating others, not necessarily, and they may not be ready right now, but they're saying like, okay, you know what? I know Ken, I know Jeff, I know Lance, and it's like, man, I can most definitely do it if these guys are doing it, and it takes from this, like, this type of stuff. So did want to open it up for any questions that people may have. So listen, if you guys are on Facebook, I was gonna have it on both, but if we would have put this on YouTube live, it wouldn't have went another hour just from the questions that would have came in. So I want to go to mild version and go on Facebook. So of course, anyone that's on Facebook, if you have any questions about anything, I most definitely tried to get some of the questions that came through. Let me just kind of scroll and see if anyone sent me some,
Yeah.
through that time frame.
Yeah,
And
YouTube.
okay, say that again.
No, I was gonna say YouTube would have been like, I don't know why that guy at the top has 3 straps. He should really have 4. I don't know why. Like it just
Oh,
doesn't make sense. You know what I
bro,
mean? Like
listen.
just
YouTube be something else, man. They be something else. So now we do have one question that just came through. Do you guys use an app to collect your money? Oh,
yeah.
matter of fact, my bad. So I'll leave it open, for anyone that wants to speak. Just go ahead and just jump in. Do you guys use any apps or any type of way? How do you collect, your rent?
Yeah, I
I
use.
use. Go ahead.
Well, it's great that we said the first, 2 words exactly the same. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that. No, no, I use Avail, and one of the things I like about Avail is it's very simplistic, very intuitive. It gets right to the point. Allows you to generate reports. It allows you to it automates the process, right? So where you set it up once, and you can say, this is when it's due. This is when I want to send a notification. This is when I want to let the tenant know that this month is free. With it, all of those alerts are set up where you can do that in one click of a button, set it up, and then from there you just wait for it to hit your account every single month. And
Wow.
that's Avail.
It's
A
AVAIL.
V A I L. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, cool, cool. All right, perfect, perfect. And then Ken, what were you going to mention?
I use a similar app to what he had mentioned. It's called Nest Egg. With that app, you're able to set the rent, chat with the tenant via there. You're able to request maintenance, and it keeps everything logged. That way, you have a paper trail, because the inevitable, the thing that no one wants to talk about, the eviction process, it does come, and you want to make sure you have a paper trail and you have everything. God forbid it does come to that. You want to make sure you got all your ducks in a row and that you can get through the process and not get hung up on not having this, or he say, she say, everything is there. It's a good app to communicate with the tenant if she just wants to know, where's this at, or, this door got closed. So it makes it really easier. And just the rent coming in every first of the month, it's pretty nice. And with the app I have, they actually cover you. Because with this COVID thing, I was kind of scared, but this app actually covers you for 6 months if they stop paying. So that kind of gave me a little breeze in the wind when everybody had stopped paying. I was like, well, at least I know I got 6 months guaranteed in case things hit the fan.
Wow. I mean, that's major. That's most definitely major. And you said, man, with Nest Egg and everything like that. How'd you find out about that? We gotta.
Hello.
I had ran into the people that were making it. I had met them at this real estate event. Networking was one of the things I had was told, like networking. So they had pushed it out. It was some British guys. So I was out south, and I knew they weren't from around there. So I started talking to them and some of the other people, and started taking cards and calling people.
Awesome, awesome.
And you
There we
said
go.
is that out south? Where's your property located again?
My property's out south.
Okay, see, South Side, huge, that's South Side, man. See, there you go. There you go.
Yeah,
That's where
Calvin was
everything's at.
definitely pushing it. Calvin was pushing the South Side heavy.
Oh man,
Hey,
don't tell the West Siders that, man.
that's what he want, man.
But it was in my best interest. He definitely was looking out for the best interest. He knew I was just resisting because I'm from out west. So I was like, man, I
Yeah.
stay out west.
You know, what's crazy too is that, and when I first moved to Chicago, I lived out west, and so, but man, when I looked at the markets, it's crazy, and it's nothing. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with out west. We know with the women's panel, there was actually quite a few West Side landlords that was on there last time. But this next one, y'all gonna love, of course, viewers and such, So, but either way, and then so now Ken, oh no, not Ken, sorry, Jeff. Is there any apps that you use to collect rent or anything like that?
No, but I'm about to start.
Right.
Now that I got these right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wanted to mention that so mine with Avail is $5 a month, but how much
Wow.
is Nest Egg? And that's
So
per
Nest
unit,
Egg,
per property.
yeah. So Nest Egg is $30 a month per unit.
And I really want to, like, that's so huge. I think
Man.
I want to say we brushed past it just a little bit, but man, to know about the financial security in times like this
Yes,
is
Respect that.
to know that it provides 6 months of
yes.
payments. That's huge. Like that's huge. I mean,
Yeah.
especially when we talked about it, like if this is your source of income, and being absent 6 months can definitely change the financial dynamics of your future. So that's huge, man.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
they told me that, I didn't believe him. I questioned them like thoroughly. I was like,
Yeah.
so 6 months
What
free?
you should
Like
have done was,
I think I asked it like 60 ways, and he was like, yeah, six
yeah,
months. I'm like, and I'm waiting for him, like, where's the catch? But no, they was just like, no, they had, got with a insurance firm, so they able to provide that for you. And I was like, hey, no more questions then. 6 months, 6 months.
what you should have done was, how when they open it up, whether it's a debt collect or something, they start off by saying, hey, this call, you're on a recorded call. I would have just said that just to get that confirmation, because some things are too good to be true. But
I swear,
hey,
man,
There you
I did
go.
not.
There you go. And you know what? And you know what? That's another thing too. A lot of the laws are tenant friendly, and we need stuff like this. Like apps like that, I should say, that should be looking out, for the landlord. I try my best to keep a lot of my, well, I won't say my landlords, but people I know have helped become a landlord. I try my best to let them know, like just avoiding certain pitfalls, because man, you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you're looking for that text message and you don't have that phone no more. Just things like that. So most definitely plays a role. Most definitely plays a role. So okay, and then another question that we do have, it says how do you guys come up with your the prices for rent? Do you guys use anything for that?
Oh, I go. Well, me, when I first got the property, we just went by the average for the area.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we did. We just whatever the average for the area, and like I said, I got a 3 bedroom. I know Chicago is pretty expensive. I'm like, okay, if I go just a little lower than the top person, people gonna want to come. So I just went a little lower than what's the average around here.
Yep.
yeah, I agree. I think so. For us, it's looking at the average, almost like when you're purchasing a home, you want to look at the comps and look at what you can actually sell up or buy a property for. Same thing with rent. You want to be able to look at the comps in the area for the rental properties, and look at not just really just the pricing, but what they offer. And saying, okay, I see that this tier offers this much. Is there something that I can include in what I have in my 1 unit or single family home that can allow me to come in at that price point as well? So you just, again, everything is going to be based off of that due diligence and making sure that you're putting yourself in a financial position to be financially successful.
Man, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's watching the market, watching the trends, even keep an eye on one of the things that me and my wife, when we was the first year we were landlords, keeping an eye on when their lease is up, especially when people, if they want to go month to month, things of that sort, you got to keep an eye on the market and knowing what the rents are going to be, because it's been plenty of times, like right now, when I show properties, people, they'll be paying like $800 a month in an area that's calling for 1,100, 1,200. and they had either had an arrangement, but a lot of times people don't keep up with the market trends. They just kind of say, oh, well, they're in there, they're not giving me no trouble, so just keeping an eye, on what the rents are doing in your area. Next question we got, do you let your tenants know that you are the landlord?
I do not.
There we go. And why is that? Go ahead.
I just find it easier to keep a buffer. I've read on some books about it, and it's different ways you can just connect with people and kind of just. I don't want to say it's deceitful. I just feel like people feel like you're dealing with personalities, so you got to kind of really play the ball, and especially when you don't know this person from Adam, so you got to really kind of play the ball, and it allows you kind to let them know that you sympathize without them feeling like this is somebody who can potentially, mess things up for me, So I just let them know, hey, I'm living here just like you, and I'm doing the maintenance. So I'm probably, if they're probably watching this, I'm sure they're probably like, I knew he was the landlord, but definitely
He always around. He always got an answer.
I was gonna say, I feel like one of my friends probably want to ask this question because I told him the story. I say when my tenants first moved in, I didn't tell them that I was right upstairs. Like I never said a word to them until like they signed the contract and everything. And we were talking one day, and it just so happened to come up. And he was like, "Oh, I never seen the landlord." I'm like, "Oh no, I am the landlord." I was like, "But yeah, nah, I tell him."
For me, I saw a great movie that was really in great finite detail about, to let them know or not to know. And so I watched The Wizard of Oz. And you
Right.
know how
I know
with The
exactly
Wizard of
what
Oz,
this is.
it's the person behind the camp, like behind the veil, and you never know, but you hear
You hear
this
that
this
voice.
roaring voice. And for me, the roaring voice is when a veil comes through and says, "This, rent is due this month." That is the voice. No, no, mine is a little different. I mean, I have, like, Jessica, is really the representative, to be honest with you. And she works with the tenant, and any questions that they have, I find that, I don't want to say women are better with communication because it's all men panel, but they understand the importance of, like, efficiency and being able to get back with them just as quick as they text them. So I love the fact that I work with Jessica, and that's what we talked about. Finding that better half where anywhere that there's a lack on your end, whether it's knowledge or turnaround times, you got that partner that's going to be able to fill that void. So our tenants, I mean, they've met us. We've brought a basket of fruit over. I mean, it's one of those scenarios.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the great thing about it. And so far, everyone that's on here have had great experiences, with their tenants, so that's always good. But that's the thing. My wife and I, we did the same thing. We was like, we kind of made act like, our parents own the building, something like that, because it just felt like we didn't want them to feel like they could just come upstairs, just knock on the door every time something wrong or something like that. And not that we were trying to avoid it either. I just don't want to be bothered, So, but it always ends up being different than how you expect it to be. So, next question that we do have: do you think the neighborhood affects the type of tenant that applies for your rental unit?
I feel like this is like one of those games where everybody's icon is on mute, and then we get a chance to hear the question. We're like,
Right.
I'd like to go ahead and answer that question. No, it definitely does. I mean, the short and sweet of the answer is definitely does, because these tenants are either the ones that really care are going to look at the property in the morning, they're going to look at the property at night, they're going to look at the type of cars that are out there, the type of people that are out there, if they see people on a corner or not. Like, all of these are going to be decision points, for the potential tenant. So yeah, I think it definitely does.
Awesome. Awesome. Ken or Jeff, what do you guys take on that?
I would definitely piggyback and agree with them. That was actually part of what I was looking for. I was trying to get to the, South Shore as close as possible. Just, areas. This area is kind of on the cusp of being gentrified, so it's definitely does have an effect. I mean, location. That's one big thing on real estate. They're looking at what's around, and Chicago gets that bad name, but we all know, if you're from the city, some blocks are vacant and ain't nobody on that block, and don't nothing happen, and everyone grandma stays on that block, and no one goes anywhere near that block. And it's just trying to find some locations like that to where it is a quiet location and people can feel like they can walk in at night and not, have to worry about this or that. So definitely.
There you go. There you go. Jeff, on that?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing they said. Like especially if it's like a family moving in, they want to know, if it's safe for their kids, if it's a school nearby, if it's a good school. So it's a lot of things. Yeah, location it means a lot when you're trying to get someone to move in. So yeah, pick a spot careful.
There you go. Okay, perfect, perfect. Now, another question we got was, do you go as when you're screening tenants, do you go as far as looking at the people they are affiliated with in order to keep your tenants safe? Hmm. I think I said that right. So for example, like I think we kind of touched on this during the process. I think it was more so in the decision making process who they are with. Like for example, if and I hate to say it, but well, I hate to say it, but sometimes most of the time with a situation, obviously, you have the woman that has the guy, and the guy doesn't really present himself well, and you feel like, oh man, I don't want to hope this guy don't bring the riffraff, to the building,
Yeah.
So not to say that it would be a guy that would do that. I'm sure women can bring some riffraff too, but this is the guys panel. No,
Yeah.
no, leave
No,
it.
right, right.
This
no,
ain't that. I don't want that. I don't
uh,
want no drama. I want to be on Shade Room by the
right,
night.
right, right. No, I wanted to say, in most cases, we say you are the company that you keep.
Yep.
And so, kind of with that, when you take on a tenant, you naturally take on the responsibility of that tenant because they stay in your property. And so, if you have a multi-unit, then you kind of want to make sure that you um, put the best type of people for the group, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you have uh, an apartment that has 4 units and it's majority family, and you realize that this one like it's so tricky and dicey because you want to make sure that you're not discriminating, which you
Yep.
can get sued, and so everything is a thin line. But I would just say that you definitely take those, you take that into consideration, with where you're going to place them, and then you make the decision from there.
Absolutely. And sidebar too, I saw someone was posting on Facebook a list of private landlords, and they was sharing it. And the landlord had put on one of the postings, no teenagers allowed. Now that's illegal, so you can't do that. You can't say no teenagers, no kids, no section 8. That's discrimination, so they could be reported. We ain't got time for that. That's more so just for people to know, listen, you got to keep things very simple, okay? And if you don't like them, you just don't go with them, So, but you can't say, hey, no drug dealers, No, I'm
Right.
kidding. So,
Well, there are some apps though. When you do background checks, they
yeah,
scan your social media, and then they kind of
man,
you ever played those games on Facebook where it says, "Hey, how strong will I be tomorrow?" You click on it, and it says, "Lynch, you will have this many muscles tomorrow." Right. So they go based off of your scan. They scan your profile, and they can tell you based off of your profile. So I mean, there are some applications that when you do a background, they can scan the social media and everything like that, and give you an overall score, right? But it's in combination of everything else outside of that. So definitely look into seeing what those apps are, and if they meet your criteria. And definitely, I encourage that for sure.
awesome, awesome. And Ken and Jeff, your take on that at all, by chance?
As far as screening, I just piggyback to the due diligence. I
Okay.
definitely made aware of anybody over 18 that's possibly going to be there. Just trying to stay within that finite line of not breaching discrimination, and just making sure that, because it's an investment, like I said, it's a partnership. I got to see who I'm being partners with, because for the next year, that's your partner. That's somebody that's in your property and your investment. So you want to make sure that those people in there aren't coming in there with any type of ill intent, or they're just looking for a place to stay. And from what I'm learning, a lot of people are just looking for a place to stay, and they just want a landlord that's gonna do right. So
At the end of the day, that's really it. Anything on that, Jeff?
Well, pretty much what they gonna say, but like,
Yeah.
we all kind of discriminate. You know, we can't say it, but
Yeah.
like in our mind, because
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. Like, so if somebody come in, you know, like you said, it's your investment. So
Yeah.
everything falls on you at the end of the day. So if
Yeah.
somebody come in, the pants sagging, and they smoking in front of you, you have some thoughts
It's a
about
wrap.
that. So
It's a wrap.
yeah, like it's like if I see like you coming in, especially if you're not the tenant yet, you coming in and then you got to make the smart choice. Like if they come in and they coming in with somebody like that, that person's gonna be around, and they probably got some more people like them that's gonna be around. So yeah.
Yeah. And, I did a segment. I gotta find that video. I did a segment not too long ago. How to, essentially the smart way to apply for an apartment. And in there, I had talked about, treat it like a job interview. So watch who you bring in. Make sure. And listen, if they won't change, but if you just love them, but they won't change, and they just ratchet and say, man, they're gonna hurt you. Leave them in the car. Tell them to go get some food. But when when you come back. We got to make this make sense. So next question that we got: how do you all determine if you include utilities? If so, do you increase the rent if you include the utilities? I don't think any of you guys do that though necessarily. It's just regular, just rent. They pay their own utilities. Any of you guys want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I pay the trash, but I think again, everything is going to go back to the due diligence, because if I'm looking at purchasing a property and I want to be at a certain price point, I want to take a look at what that price point is and what's included. So
Yeah.
if somebody down the street is charging X amount and I'm seeing that they're including utilities as well, and I want to be at that same price point, then I'll take that into consideration. But before I take it into consideration, I also want to know what's the estimated bills that can accumulate from me making that decision. So I want to make sure I'm not at a loss, but I'm also at the price point that I want to be at. So I think the core part of that question is really, making sure you do your due diligence and that it has to make sense, not to you, but to the market. If it
Yeah.
makes sense to the market and you can benefit financially from it, then absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. And then Ken and Jeff, you guys got anything on that?
The utilities I do pay are the garbage and water. So
Yeah.
just going from what Lance had mentioned, it's kind of you got to sit down and do your numbers and see what makes sense. If it does make sense, if sometimes you may want to get a tenant, so you may offer that you do pay utilities just to fill that. So it's really on what the market is asking, and that's when you got to kind of get your finger on the beat of the real estate and kind of stay in tune and find out what area is hot and what area is not. What area is coming up, what are they charging, what are you getting as opposed to what the next man's getting in your property, and what can you offer for them?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's going to give you longevity, believe it or not, right? Because even if, apartment, person B is not charging utilities, but your game plan is really about longevity for your kids and your kids' kids, and you're willing to take a slower approach, then you want to see what package can I put together that's going to allow me to have the least amount of stress. I don't really want high turnaround. If you don't want high turnarounds, if you want somebody to actually stay there and say, I'm here because I love it here, right?
Mhm.
Unbiased of who the landlord is, but because of the amenities, right? When you think about the hotels, when you travel, the airlines, the places that you go, the biggest part that we remember or we're willing to pay for are the amenities. The better the amenities, the likelihood you're going to find me being there. So same concept when it comes to renting.
Awesome. Okay. Jeff, anything on that one?
Well, it's pretty much the same as Kenneth. I pay the garbage and the water. And not really nothing new. Like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You gotta have the same. You gotta have knowledge of the numbers and how it's gonna turn out. The same thing they said.
Got you. Got you. Okay. And then we got a couple more questions. And of course, we'll wrap everything up. Again, thank you guys, for being here, for sure. So, next thing will be, let's see here. Have any of you guys lived in the units that you own while renting out the other units in the building? If so, how was the experience? Essentially, living, how is it, kind of being close to your tenants? Because of course, and Lance, we can skip this one because I know you got that one. The building's down the street. Unless you want to throw in your 2 cents, you go ahead. But okay, cool.
I'd be lying at that point. I think
Right,
it's
right.
great. I think just that close proximity. No, I haven't. I
Yeah,
haven't had that
yeah.
opportunity yet.
Okay, there you
So
go.
I do live in the building that I'm in. I think they call it house hacking.
Yep.
So essentially, when I first started, it wasn't the plan, but COVID in 2020 had other ideas for me. So I think Jeff had mentioned it early. I had without COVID going, work had got slow, so I was able to maintain, and like I dodged a lot of bullets by having that tenant. Like, and I think that's when you really see the relief of like the landlord and ability. You like, man, like this had happened in any other situation, I would have been up street, you know. So just kind of seeing that play into motion, definitely being able to help you through things that normally you probably wouldn't have been able to.
Got you. And then Jeff.
But yeah, same thing. I live upstairs from my tenants. At first, I could tell they was a little nervous because you got the landlord upstairs, so it's a little nervous. But like I say, at the end of the day, as long as you're respectful, you do what you do. I'm not one of the landlords that get on you about everything. As long as you're respectful to the building, it's cool. It's pretty cool. Like we talk, we see each other, we speak. They have any questions, they don't, they text me. They don't come upstairs or nothing, knock on the door. They just text me, ask me. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome, awesome.
Makes
And of
sense. It's
course,
like
my 2 cents. We stayed 2 unit property, and we stayed upstairs as well too. Like Ken, mentioned it. That's what essentially your house hacking. And if you do it, if you buy your property and the numbers are right in the right situation, you could charge your tenant, you know, enough to cover the entire building. And now you're living for free, and now you're saving that money to go into the next building. A lot easier to go that route for sure. Lance, you had something?
no, I was gonna say it's just like moonshine. They say you gotta if you respect moonshine, it'll respect you.
Right.
Right. No, but it's like you mentioned about the purpose. When you understand that purpose, you financially it'll then kind of it'll make sense, right? So like when Ken mentioned, like, man, COVID happened. Had it not had it had it had I been somewhere else and had a 2 unit, then things would have been totally different, right? So
Mhm.
for those people who want to be a landlord, sometimes part of that plan is I want to live rent free, right? And for me, that sounds remarkably amazing, right? I want to be able to be somewhere where I can financially have a free mind. And in order to do that, it would be to have a tenant or two that's going to pay for where I'm staying. And that's a strategy. And I think when we talk back to the purpose, if that is your purpose, by all means, definitely take advantage of that and do your due diligence to see what the pros and cons are to each.
Gotcha, gotcha. And then so now we're gonna skip this one in particular only because the question was is how do you manage a property if you live in another city? Technically, none of you guys live in you guys stay in the same building, and then of course you're in the same city down the street, obviously. But unless you guys would have
Well, I mean, for me, so you have what your decision you always want to do with the least amount of financial obligation, right? So I think even if Jess and I didn't stay down the street with us having American Home Shield, uh, we were able to call them out and have them resolve the issue. So a lot of the issues that we found at the property, we didn't have to physically be there. So I could have been out of town. I could have been on a beach somewhere drinking a mojito, uh, skydiving, you name it. But the core principle would have all been the same. Where as long as you have either a management company or like a company like AHS, then you don't have to physically be there in order to resolve a lot of their problems. And if they have any financial problems, they can call 411 or whatever.
right.
Ever.
All right, all right. So last two questions. Another question we got was, do you think it's best to do a year lease, which you guys are still kind of in the beginning stage, or within that first year, and then after that, are you guys going to try to go month to month, or are you going to try to get another year commitment from them?
So I could take that. So my first one was a year lease, and it actually ended a couple months ago. But we've been doing month to month since. But I always say start off with a year, And then like if the year doing good, if it went well, you should probably. I think no, I would have did another year, but just because I know my tenants are also building their credit, and then
Yep.
eventually they want to do their own thing. So let's do months a month, and then we can communicate whenever you're ready to do your thing. We do like that. So I say start out with a year, and then after that, months a month. As long as you can trust them and they can trust you, it'll work out.
Absolutely. Ken, what's your take on that?
I'm still actually kind of on the fence. I did start off with a year, so I'm my tenant keeps to itself. Haven't really got too much anything issues out of them. So I would say kind of start off for a year. You don't want it to be too short. You want to be able to kind of see how it is, and like Jeff has said, just kind of looking and seeing like how things went, kind of using your best judgment to see like, okay, this person is somebody who can actually pay on time, and everything's been good on the first, and you want to look for that super tenant. If you can get a super tenant, that's somebody who don't complain, who pays, and they just they treat it like it's their own. That's
Yep.
You can get a super tenant, you and hold on to them. That's the keeper.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then Lance.
Yo, I love a serious. Okay, all right. No, all right, Lance, let it go. No, I agree. You definitely want to get a superintendent. For me, hold on, Calvin. All right, so it really all depends on uh, your your end goal and the type of tenant that you have. So if I have a single family home, then I'm looking to essentially do like a 2 year if I can get longer, right? Because again, I'm not looking to have that much traffic roll in and out of the property. I really want some level of stability. If I'm doing something new for the very first time, like your Section 8, or I'm in an area that I'm unfamiliar with, or I'm a little rocky about the block or the area, then I may do a year lease because I need to be able to see if I need to make a decision, and I don't want to be stuck within a decision for 2 years time frame. So I'll probably do a year lease, year lease, and kind of go about it that way. If I'm just in a situation where I just really need some money, which we should never find ourselves in. And I find myself in a situation where I'm like, listen, we need to do this month by month. So it's really a case by case scenario, and you kind of decide, based off of your overall criteria, what's the best approach for you. Because it's tough to give you a direct. I definitely think 2 years because that's applicable, and it can be, it can vary.
Got you. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. And next, this is will be we got two. Well, we got let me see here. Want to make sure I didn't miss anything. And of course, sorry everyone, we won't be able to get to all the questions. You guys did a great job, asking questions, of course, and the panelists have been doing a phenomenal job making sure we answer them. Of course, we can't. We most definitely don't want to keep them all night, but we'll be wrapping up here on the end. So now the last question I want to go into, actually, real quick, COVID-19 played a major role in, I know, a lot of us. And then I'll go ahead just to kind of speed some things up. I know Ken had mentioned to this earlier that he uses the Nest Egg app, and they had a situation. Well, they had the 6 months that's already taken care of. For a situation like this, has anyone else, Jeff or Lance, have you guys dealt with anything that in affects to COVID-19 as far as like collecting rent?
Well, with the CARES Act, we were able to learn about what flexibility we had. So if our tenant was not able to pay, the CARES Act was going to allow for 6 months forbearance, in which we would have been able to put those payments on the back of the loan, of the back of the loan. And if we were going to have to do something like that, our decision was going to be, once we ramp back up at 6 months, we were then going to increase the rent due to the interest that was actually accrued for that period of time. So, like I mentioned before, every scenario being different, but we were grateful that we didn't have to do that, but we did have a plan in place should they not have been able to afford the rent on a month-to-month basis.
That's good. That's good. Having something in place. They going back to that warranty for sure. And then Jeff, anything? Have you been affected by COVID-19 with the tenants at all? Oh, sorry, you're on mute. Hold on, I got you.
No, I was gonna say it's even funnier when they're talking like, "Hey, you know,
Oh yeah. Hold on. Let me see. He probably. I did an ask to unmute. I tell you what, just jump in whenever. Don't bless with him because they're gonna think it's something wrong with him. All right, cool. But don't worry, Jeff. We'll swing back around. So either way, the last question we got, and then Jeff, when yours cuts back in, just let us know. But the last question I have is,
American Home Shield." See, American Home Shield would have got that resolved.
oh man,
Man, they
please.
would have came out.
All right. Last one was, if you were to go back, to change anything about about you being a landlord, or just what you guys have learned so far, experience wise, what are some things you would have gone back to change?
Well, meeting Calvin for the first place, but let's start there. Uh, no, I want to say this. One of the things I probably said I would have wanted to change was my mentality. So when I first started, I will be transparent in saying that I had a list of fearful things that I just did not want to deal with. If I were to talk to myself, my old self, I would say, Lance, you need to have a winning mentality, because I think that the energy that you have within self that you push out into the universe is going to come back. Be careful who you speak with, and two, because a lot of times people will try to project their fears or what did not work onto you. And so, because you're in a vulnerable state, you're going to be listening to those things, and it's going to either derail you or prevent you from being successful in all that you do. And then I would just say you have to be able to go in with, understanding the power of making a choice.
Yeah.
So in our past life or wherever we work at, we're an employee, so we're conditioned to take commands. But when you become a landlord, you then take on that responsibility and understand the true power of choice.
Yeah.
Once you understand that true power that you have, that has never, left your side, you then can make sound decisions because you are what you put out. So that's what I would tell myself. Understand the true power of choice. Be cautious about who you have in your surroundings, and understand that you don't necessarily have to know everything in order to be successful. But in order to be successful, you have to be able to have different resources around you that can provide you with those answers, because you don't have to know everything.
Yeah. You don't, and a
Welcome
lot of
back.
times we think we do. So go ahead. Who's next, Jeff?
You hear me now?
Oh yes, sir. We can go
All
ahead.
right, I'm back. I got But to be honest, like if I could go back and tell myself anything, maybe to do it sooner. That like that's what it'd be, to do it sooner. Because it was like, I was raised by my grandparents, so I was always a money manager. I was always smart with my money because watching the older people do it. So I was in a position, well, almost. I was close. We did a couple things, but I was in a good position. So if I would have just knew, we in a meeting, through Tiffany. But if I knew it sooner,
Yeah.
I just did it sooner. Why waste time? That's the only thing I really would have told myself: just do it sooner.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And it's not until we do it, it's like, oh man, this is a little bit easier than I thought it would be.
Yeah, way easier.
That's for sure. And then Ken, what is something that you would have changed or went back to change?
They kind of cover most of it.
Yeah.
But as far as me, I would definitely was gonna say do it sooner. And kind of what Lance was saying, there was a lot of people in my ear. Oh, you shouldn't buy this. You shouldn't do that. And I could have easily just been like, you know what, you're right, and stopped. And so much would have came from that. So just I would tell myself, keep going. I would go back and tell myself, like, hang in there. Don't let them, like, you know what you want to do. You got a plan, because people will project. And if you got a plan in place, it's not too much that's going to stop you. Once a mind is made up, it's kind of hard to derail somebody who know where they're going. If it's a lot of people out who are not really sure. So I kind of knew, and I had already did the research. So I know I wanted to get, and it was just a matter of, pushing that. So it was a lot of doubt here and there because it's scary. You out there in the real estate, and you realize it's a lot I don't know, and it's a lot of money that's flying around there. So just telling myself, hang in there, you can do it.
Absolutely. And let me tell you something. Ken had every reason to quit. Going from property. I'm talking about that first property we was under contract with. The lady literally waited until a week from closing. And she said, listen, I'm going to fix the roof. Then she said, I'm not going to fix the roof anymore. I mean, that literally killed the deal. Then the next one, you go through the process of the inspection, and then the seller's not trying to help out. And there was a lot of items that we just knew they was going to take care of. And they was
Yeah.
like, no, so and the time that we spend things of that sort. And I'm as an agent, I'm out, me and the team and I, we're out all the time every single day. So it's nothing for us. But I mean, he most definitely had every reason to say, all right, man, I'm done, or I'm going to put this on pause. And then we worked out a very good situation in a very up and coming neighborhood where equity is going to be all over his kids for sure.
Yeah, I
So
can't wait. I've been looking at the area and I could just see that it's coming up. You know what I mean? I can see the improvements. I can see people building buildings. So I'm excited. It's definitely a good front to go into.
And I
absolutely.
wanted to add to that, Calvin, that I always tell people, even for those people who are in that uncertainty phase, that as far as being a tenant, is that everything that you've done in your life is meant to get to where you are right now. And we have to redefine how we view uncomfortability. Because a lot of times when we're uncomfortable, we think that that means pause or I should not be here. But
Absolutely.
we have to understand that uncomfortability means that you have a chance at that moment to grow. And you have a choice. We talked about the power of choice. You can either accept that level of uncomfortability or you can decline it, but you ultimately have that choice. And everybody on here, whether forced or not, made the choice to be the landlord. And now we're here smiling and having a great time saying the same thing. Like it's
Yeah.
like this wasn't pre-recorded. We didn't, have a conversation and say, hey, when he asked, we say this is great. Okay. Let me see that smile. All right, it looks good. Okay. It's convincing. No, we all said the same thing. Had we understood the level of uncomfortability and accepted it sooner or made a decision, man, life will be so much better. So when you feel that feeling, what you're going to feel, you then should, it should activate your mind and say, now is the time for me to make that choice. And understanding the true power of choice. Uncomfortability equals a great thing. And when you revisit it, whether it's a month, 3 months, a year down the line, you're going to realize how easy the process was and how now you can expand to grow even larger. So I just wanted to definitely make sure I got that out.
Major, major. Well, listen, guys, greatly appreciate you all taking out the time from your families, from your things that got to do to pour into everybody. We answered some questions. We, gave a lot of information out, and that's the whole purpose of this because when you guys are going through your buying process, I didn't have anything, and like at this platform to try to help people, but now I'm getting requests. To do this often because people they want to share those stories. They want to hear how that process is for sure. So, is there anything you guys want to leave everyone with before we go ahead and head out? Nope.
I would say that no matter how nervous you are, and I think I heard this, I forgot who said it, so don't quote me, but every journey starts with the first step. So it's definitely gonna be nerve wracking. You're gonna feel very uncomfortable, like you said, but that first step, it lends to the second step, and then next thing you know, like you said, we here. You here and you're a landlord and you doing the thing.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Jeff, you
I
got
would
anything to
say
leave everybody with?
I would say always believe that, and it sounds cliche as yes, but I'm telling you, every day I wake up and drink my coffee, I tell myself this is that, always believe that you are great even before anybody believes it, right? Because if you go with that concept, when you project it onto others, you're just really updating them and you're not really looking for confirmation or affirmation. You're telling them, listen, I'm great. This is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. If you either you can stand on the side of me or you can stand behind me. Either way, I'm moving forward. So
Yep.
again, always believe that you're great even before anybody believes it.
Awesome. Awesome.
I'm a motivational speaker, man.
I
And
guess if
then
I had
Jeff,
something to say, it'd
yeah,
be just take that step. Because the first step might be the hardest, but after that, it's a breeze, man. Take the step. You're never too young. You're never too old. It, if this is something you want to do it. It's not as hard as people think. Because I was one of the people that thought it was just so hard. I thought I had to have this amount. You never know. Just look into it. It's going to be easier than you think, though. Just take the step.
awesome.
Now,
Awesome.
quick
Go
question.
ahead.
He mentioned taking a step, and I just thought about it, right?
See?
If we can learn from anybody else, everybody I think has kids. One of the things that he mentioned was taking a step, right? If you can learn from, babies, right? Like they exemplify life, right? First they crawl, then they walk, and they may make stumbles along the way, but they keep going. So if they can do it without having not much knowledge, then we can definitely follow that same thing. And with us, deciding to becoming landlords and having that first property, we agreed to crawl. And now we're talking about those steps, pun intended, in order to go to that next level. So, just start, just take that first step and you'll be surprised.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with that, guys, we appreciate everyone for taking out the time to be a part of this event, ask those questions, things of that sort. Now we're gonna let everybody get back to their families. Greatly appreciate you guys for taking out your time and being here, guys. And now I'm gonna get ready for the next one, but I'm sure a lot of people got a lot of great information out of it. So with that, you guys take care, and I'll see you guys on Facebook talking about y'all, what's gonna be going on in the future. All right.
Thanks, Calvin, for having us.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Calvin.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You guys have a good one.
You too, man.